Well, hello, it's Friday again. Here we are, another week, and it's time for my Friday cooking session. We seem to have got through quite a lot over the last few weeks. Now, today we're not actually cooking. I'm going to make some sauerkraut. So I hope that you saw the bits and bobs that you're going to need. I posted a little video, and also I posted the ingredients. Sorry, I just got distracted. Somebody's just sent me a message saying they can't find it. Can't help at the minute. It is a problem, some people find in these live videos. I must find a better way of doing it. So anyway, good morning, lovely to see you. Oh, I can see Jill is here. Hi Jill and Becky, lovely to have you here. Thank you for joining me. So I'm going to dive straight in, and I'll talk a little bit in a minute, but what we need to do is we need to get going. So today I am going to make a green cabbage, carrot, garlic and cumin seed sauerkraut. Now sauerkraut literally means fermented cabbage. So cabbage is going to be the base of this, and as you can see here, I have got one green cabbage, and I've just shredded that. Oh, we've got more people coming. Oh, Jane, you found us, well done. Mandy's here as well. Good morning, Mandy. Oh, and Fran's managed to tune in again from New Zealand. Well done. It must be bedtime, surely. So I've got one green cabbage here, so that's been chopped. So what we actually need to do is we need to start getting the water to come out of that. So this is why we need to get going. So if you are making your sauerkraut along with me, then grab some salt. So I'm using Himalayan salt. You could use sea salt if you want to. But I use Himalayan salt partly because it's pink. But it's slightly less refined. So a lot of table salt is like 99% sodium chloride, whereas Himalayan salt has got some other minerals in it as well. So it's about 88%. So still a lot of sodium in there, but other things as well. So for just about a kilo of cabbage, you need 1 and a bit tablespoons of salt. That's not very technical, but that's the amount at work. So and what you need to do is get your hands in there. So you want to start massaging the salt into your shredded cabbage. Good morning, Rachel, and good morning, Jane again. I've got your message saying that you found it, and I've just seen that you've popped up as well. So well done. So what this massaging does is that it starts to draw the water out of the cabbage, because what we want to do is we want to make a brine, and that's what the cabbage is actually going to ferment in. Now, I should have said, if you're using red cabbage, then I would suggest that you don a marigold because otherwise you end up with very, very pink fingertips, and the colour in red cabbage is quite hard to get out. So that's my top tip: is to get your gloves on. So as I'm massaging this in, I can begin to smell this, like the bit of the cabbagey waftages. So you were getting the sulfur compounds are being released, and that's a good thing. So I'm sure if you've made a kale salad or something like that, you've probably massaged some lemon juice or something into the kale leaves to soften them. And what that does is it actually cracks open the enzymes to help release the phytonutrients in there. And these phytonutrients are very, very medicinal. So this goes for any cruciferous vegetables that you're preparing. If you want to get the benefits out of it, then to chop it about 10 minutes or so before you actually want to use it. So if you're cooking it or steaming it, the nutrients will survive as long as they've had a chance to be released. What doesn't survive on heating is the enzymes that create this reaction to release the nutrients in the first place. Plants are very clever as well. They like protecting their goodies. So if you, say for an example, you're having some steamed broccoli with your dinner, then just chop the broccoli and then wait 10 minutes before you actually steam it, and then you'll get all the goodies out of it. So whilst I'm standing here waffling along and massaging my cabbage, if you're doing the same, hopefully what you will begin to find is, I'll try and show you without chucking it all over the kitchen worktop, is that it's beginning to draw out the moisture. So we're drawing out the water from the cabbage, and this is what we want to do. Because like I say, this is the basis of the brine. Now, sauerkraut is, traditionally, it's a way of enabling people, as preserving vegetables basically for winter. So, oh, morning Rob, coming in from Australia. We've got New Zealand and Australia now, fantastic. So yeah, so preserving vegetables to be used in winter, and traditionally it's just vegetables mixed with salt and then kept in containers. Now we were having a conversation last night, so I've got my Eat Well Live Well course going on at the minute, and one of the ladies on there, Mariana, comes from Serbia, so she was telling us about all these different fermentation things that they use, these wooden vats under the keeping under the house. Whilst things ferment for a couple of months. So it's a way of preserving and enabling people to have vegetables in the winter. But what happens in this brine is this fermentation process. It creates fabulous friendly bacteria, which is really, really good for gut health. And our microbiome, which is this little community that lives in the colon, which is the start of the large intestines, is absolutely key to our health, because not only does the bacteria protect us, but also, and look after the gut in the first place, but also they create all sorts of chemicals. We've outsourced things. So like short chain fatty acids and hormones that communicate how hungry we are and things like that. So it's really, really important for our health. And so if we add some fermented food to our diet, in things like sauerkraut, then we are helping our microbiome to look after us. Which is fabulous, and as well as, like I said, all these other phytonutrients are being released. But the benefit of making your own is the fact that you are actually including your own environmental bacteria. So we are at one with where we live, and so your sauerkraut is actually personalised to you, to what your body will benefit and flourish with. Also, a lot of sauerkraut that you buy in the shops, if it's just on the shelf, it's been pasteurised, and so the beneficial bacteria will have been killed off. So if you do buy a sauerkraut in the shop, you need to get it from the fridge, but it's more expensive, and you also, it's not going to be as fresh or as personalised as the one you make yourself. So Becky, you made some sauerkraut a couple of weeks ago. I can't see all of your message, and I can't touch the screen. It's tasty but. Type again what the but is, and then I'll be able to tell you. But sauerkraut, it takes about 5 days to ferment, and you can eat it straight away, or you can leave it with the lid on for a bit longer, and then keep it in the fridge. Over time, those flavours develop. But I'll show you my one that I've got, and you can see it when it opens. Right, so look, this cabbage, you know how full that bowl was. So that's the water coming out of it, and when I look at the side, there is some water at the bottom, so that's good. Hi Hayley, don't worry, here now, you can go back and watch the beginning. How do I know if it's worked properly? Okay, so it might not work now. So this is our one that we've got going that I made a few weeks ago, and you may be able to hear that when I open it, didn't work this time, typical, I had it open earlier. It does a little psh, so it kind of, it's like a pop, you know, when you open up a bottle of bubbles or something. So it actually fizzes. So that's all the fermentation being released. So you know that there's a lot of activity going in there. It's very salty, possibly use too much salt. You can rinse it if you want to. If it's too salty, you can rinse it before you use it. But obviously then you are in danger of losing some of the beneficial bacteria as well. So that's why I just use like a tablespoon for a kilo. So I'm going to add in my carrots now. Oh, sorry, excuse me, got an itchy face. I don't massage those in with the first bit. You can do, but I just let the carrots do their thing in the jar. So I'm popping those in now, and then over here I have 4 cloves of sliced garlic. You don't have to add this in. But it's all about with different flavours. Now traditionally sauerkraut is cabbage, carrot and caraway seeds. The caraway is, people put them in there to temper the flavour a little bit if you don't like the bitterness. Funnily enough, I don't really like caraway seeds. So I'm going to put in some cumin seeds instead, just to give it a slightly different flavour. And cumin again is fantastic for your stomach, for your intestines. It can help with digestion. It can also help reduce some bloating as well. And it's got some antiviral and some antibacterial properties. It's great stuff. So I'm just going to pop all of that in there. That's all mixed together. So now it's time to transfer it to my jar. Now the thing about the sauerkraut is you're going to see we're going to bash it down. So this jar is actually quite big, but I don't have a smaller one at the minute. So, but I'm going to have a way to make sure that the everything is covered. So hopefully you can see that okay. I'm just getting handfuls into the jar, making a mess as I go, but anyone who's ever worked with me or done stuff with me knows that I always make a mess. One of the wonderful things about working with both Jane, who's on here, and with Philippa as well, is they loves it. Being very patient with my mess and helping me to tidy up. Okay, so that's all in the jar. And so my next implement is my rolling pin, because what I want is to get more of the water out of this, because before to stop it going mouldy, because there's a close line between mould and fermented. So to stop it going mouldy, we need to have it covered with water. So by bashing, what I'm doing is I'm just pressing it down. Hope you can see that okay, and drawing more water out of the vegetables. Now I'm trying not to bash it too hard against the worktop, because otherwise all you'll hear on the microphone is rattling around. So you can carry on doing that for as long as it takes. It could take about 10 minutes. But if you're short of time, or if you're showing people live and they don't want to have to sit there watching you bash with your rolling pin, you can top it up with water. So if you are going to top it up with water, then I strongly suggest that you use filtered water. So we have a special water filter here, and it makes lovely, lovely water. But if you are using tap water that's got a lot of chlorine in, then obviously that's going to have an impact on the fermentation process, because it's there to kill off bacteria. So use some fermented water, use some filtered water if you can. Right, so I'm actually going to top that up, because like I say, you don't need to watch me do that. So I'm just putting in enough to just cover. We don't want too much, because as time goes by, more water will be released from the sauerkraut. So I'm just going to gently push down all the edges. Okay, and let me try and show you, without dropping anything, that's just covered. You can hopefully, can you see? That is just covered with water. And then what you need to do is we now need to cover it. So we're going to double cover it. So yesterday on my video tip, I said keep a couple of the outside cabbage leaves, because what these are going to do is they're just going to act as a natural cover. I mean, if you haven't got the leaves, you could use some like greaseproof paper or something like that if you want. But these are kind of natural wraps, really. And there we go. So we're going to cover that. Now, I know I've covered that with water. If you're still not sure, then you can put a little weight on top of that. So it could be a stone, it could be a lemon, something like that, just to weigh it down, because you want to make sure that the veggies are underneath the brine. Okay, so that's all done. So the final bit of covering that we're going to do is just going to cover it with a bit of cloth. So we don't want to seal it yet. We're just going to, but you need to cover it to stop anything falling in it, basically. So this is just a little bit of cheesecloth. If you've got, you could use a tea towel, a muslin cloth, whatever you've got, just to cover it up. And then I've got an elastic band. Now I'm sure that there's all sorts of newfangled things that you can get in the shop, but these are my Heath Robinson ways of doing it. Does the jar need to be sterilised? So this jar, good question, Mandy, thank you. Yes, it doesn't necessarily need to be sterilised, but certainly clean. So if it's been through the dishwasher and you've made sure that whatever was in there before is gone, then that's fine. Because otherwise you have the potential for some unwanted bacteria in there. So yeah, so it's clean but not necessarily sterilised. So there you go, I've got that covered up. And then I'm just going to leave it on the worktop. And then what happens, and this, Becky, also might answer your question, is that over the next few days, you'll start to see little bubbles rising at the side and bubbles on the top. So it depends on how warm your kitchen is. At the minute up in Northern Europe, it's quite warm, so it will you know, ferment a little bit quicker, but if your kitchen's cold, then it will take another couple of days. Oh, hi Chris, nice to see you. So keep an eye on it. After 3 days, it will start smelling a little bit bitter, a little bit fermented. So between 3 get to 4 days, you might want to check it again, see how many bubbles you've got. You can taste a little bit. So usually after about 5 days, as long as you've got some bubbles, there's no mould or anything on the top, then you can take your cloth off and you can shut the lid. Now, you can put a seal on if you want to use a seal on a kilner jar, or just do it without a seal. It doesn't seem to make any difference. Or if you're just using a big jar, just put the screw top on the top. And then you can leave that, so that will continue to ferment. You can again, you don't want it too hot, so I tend to leave mine sort of on the worktop for a few days, and then I actually put it in the fridge, because I don't want it to get too mouldy and manky, because it's a bit difficult to describe, but after a little while it goes quite, it has the potential to go a bit too sour and a bit funky smelling, so you really don't want to have that. Oh, Fran, I'm sorry, the video's not working. Not sure what's happened there. Hopefully everybody else can see. Oh, and Nan's here. Hi, Nan, somebody else from New Zealand. Lovely to have you here. And that's about it, really. You can use different things. You could add in, you can do beetroot. You don't necessarily have to use cabbage. Obviously, cabbage is the traditional main ingredient, but you can use carrot and beetroot and garlic. That's a really nice combination. Hi, Nan. You can use put turmeric in it. So if you've got some fresh turmeric, you could put some of that in it, but definitely go for the marigolds there. Other seeds, you know, you can use other seeds and flavourings, even like juniper berries you could put in. You can pretend it's gin instead. And it's just really delicious, and it's so much nicer than anything else that you will buy in the shops. Well, I think so, because like I say, it's personalised to your own environment. So this is the one that I made. Here's one I made a few weeks ago. We're working our way through it. So this one is red cabbage, carrot and garlic. And it's got really deep, it smells really savoury, but the juices in it, they're a lovely red. And it's just not bitter at all. It's just really naturally fermented. And you can eat it, well, all sorts of ways. If I see recipes for it, if you are going to use it in a hot dish, now remember that heat is going to kill off your friendly bacteria, and that's what you want. So as well as tasting good, you want it to be benefiting you, and we want to really look after those bacteria. So add it in at the end of, if it's a hot dish, add it in at the end. Don't cook it, because then you're just going to lose the benefits of it. Right, I think that's about all I need to say on that in a minute. If I think of anything else, I'll add it on the blog post. So I'll upload this onto the blog, so you've got the full waffle, the full recipe there. And if you are interested in gut health, this is something that we cover a lot in my online course, Eat Well, Live Well. There's a whole week, it's a 5-week course, and there's a whole week that's dedicated to gut health, why it's so important and ways that you can improve it. So if you want to know more about that, then send me a message. The next one is starting on the 15th of June. Sarah's here. Hi, Sarah. You shut the lid. Maybe that's why. Yes, possibly. It's just getting it all brewed up nicely. Yeah, so that's it. I hope to see you again next week. I haven't decided what I'm going to make. I actually have a new oven, very exciting. Normally I do the savoury one week and sweet the next, but this week we couldn't do sweet because my oven blew up. Hooray! So I have a new oven. So we'll probably go back to baking again next week. So in the meantime, have a fabulous week, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Ta-ra!